So the customer is able to transact wherever they want, whenever they want. It needs to be a different experience, and it needs to be an integrated experience for that customer in order for it to work. My 82-year-old mother, she started her last car purchase online.
Joining us today in the Digital Retailing and Automotive Insight series is Rob Egleston, a seasoned automotive executive with over 2 decades of industry experience across both mass market and luxury brands. Rob currently serves as the Retail Strategy and Digitalization Manager at BMW of North America.
Well, thank you for that extensive introduction. It sounds impressive when it's put that way. You need to keep in mind that an expert is only someone who's done it wrong more times than anyone else. And as you said, I spent a lot of time at a lot of different OEMs, and I'm excited to have this conversation today. They either called us on the phone or they walked in the door. Those were the only 2 ways that a customer could reach us. And with the dawn of the internet and the development of websites and email, well, it opened a 3rd channel. But that customer who was coming to us was still coming to us in the same sort of way. It was just another channel that brought us to our door. And everything that happened after that customer reached out to us was pretty much the same as it always had been. What's really different about digital retailing is digital retailing, from my perspective, is the transition of portions of that sales process that previously could only be completed in a dealership environment to an online space. Because that's really critical in the digital retailing journey, is bringing the retailer along and making sure, and not necessarily bringing them along, but making them really the center of the entire experience, because ultimately they're the ones who need to buy in order for this to work. So really the evolution has been in understanding that digital retailing, it needs to be more than just a lead. It can't just be a fancy lead that we get some extra attributes on and maybe we treat it as a lower funnel lead or something along those lines, but rather that it needs to be a different experience, and it needs to be an integrated experience for that customer in order for it to work. However, really all generations are drawn to a more seamless and a more transparent and a more digital process. I mean, my 82-year-old mother, she started her last car purchase online through a digital retailing tool. She was drawn to the dealer because it was an option that was offered that allowed her to get further into the purchase process before she started interacting with the dealer.
What would you say are a few barriers, just off the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is the legacy systems. I've seen in my career a period where it was mainframe computers and then moved to more, I'm going to go buy this piece of software that's going to try to stitch everything together. And it works great, maybe, for a period of time, but it's a stopgap solution. Eventually, you have to do the major overhaul, everything that underlies your IT infrastructure.
What technologies do you believe are really powering the shift to digital retailing and automotive?
Yeah, I mean, it's the ubiquity of high-speed internet is one of the major things that's driving this shift. I can expect to have high-speed internet no matter where I am. That is a major shift, and it changes the way that manufacturers approach those systems and tools. So the idea that a tool that you build can have a major portion of its functionality online, and we can expect a user to use that in the field remotely. The appification of the world where everything has an app now, and that to be a pretty good experience is a big change that's driving shift in the way that manufacturers are approaching things, and it's changing the way that consumers are approaching things. They are the critical link in this. And, where we find success is where we partner with the retailer, where we focus on the things that are important to the retailer, because that's how we're going to get buy-in. As an example, we as an OEM, may not care all that much about used cars. We may not care at all about off-brand used cars, but our retailers care immensely about that, because that is how they make money, number one. And number two, that's how they sell our products. because they are able to retail off-brand used cars. And once you've crossed that barrier, look, they're great benefits. I'm a believer in EVs as a significant part of the market, but there are real costs associated with there are things you have to do differently, and that's a result of driving an EV. So if I have one, I'm going to want another one. I think it's always going to coexist with the physical experience. We are a build to stock, immediate gratification market. The majority of customers are always going to want to see, touch, feel,